Welcome back. You've made it to Season 3, Episode 3, Part 2 of PodcastBozo. If you already heard Part 1, you tuned in earlier this week, but this time you came just in time to hear the second half of our conversation with Tasha Robinson. Here with me, as always, we have locally renowned beer server, Sean, and celebrated artist and animator, Eli. My name is JJ, but you can call me Antonio D'Antonio. As always, it's good to be with y'all. I want to mention first that this is supposed to be a group effort. We want to hear from you, our listeners, so if you have the chance, go to our website, visit PodcastBozo.com, or go to our social media accounts at PodcastBozo and chime in, chat with us, add to the conversation, give us feedback. We will do our best to engage with you online and include it in the episodes. Now that we have you trapped here, we would love if you could donate to our Bozo fund, and we'll give you a shout out, read you whatever you leave in the donation message, or even write you a little story. It's up to you. All you got to do is donate. The options are all there. So without further ado, I would like to reintroduce us to this conversation that we've been having with Tasha, and I'll roll it back a few minutes to give us some context, and I'll see you at the end.
Well, okay, so you kind of began this all by asking, like, is it still fun or is it just work? Like, do you enjoy your job? And I guess the more nuanced answer to that is there are times when sitting down to yet another movie feels like a grind. There are times when I have to force myself to turn on the TV, which just sounds so weird since that's what people do for leisure. Yeah. But literally anything that you do for work, literally anything you do all the time. Like if your favorite thing in the world is chocolate and you go work in a chocolate factory, you'll come to hate the smell of chocolate. If your favorite thing to do in the world is play basketball and you become a pro player, there will be a time where you're like, my knees hurt. I'm tired. I don't want to listen to people screaming at me all day. And I don't want to go play basketball and come up bruised and tired. Whatever you do constantly without a choice, because you're getting paid and you got to do it on a schedule, becomes tiresome. I almost never get tired of talking to people about film. Just like asking questions like, what's your best hate watch, or like what moved you, or what did you think about that ending? Like listening to other people talk about what engages them in movies. Like that's pretty much why we do the podcast. Is I really enjoy listening to people talk about movies. Film festivals are an exhausting drag where you're constantly playing with your schedule and traveling back and forth across the same 5 miles of ground in order to stand in line for an hour, often outside, in order to try to get into a tent and then to watch a movie and then try to write something meaningful about it within the next hour and get it up on the site so nobody can read it. But you get to stand in line and talk to people about movies. And at film festivals, people talk to each other about movies on the buses. They talk to each other about movies in the elevators. They talk to each other about movies in line at the grocery stores. And it's the greatest thing. You sit around and talk to you guys about movies all day long.
Yeah. And I imagine the podcast has added a new element to your job now, and where you can sit down and actually express your ideas out loud. I guess to me, there's a difference between writing them down and talking and getting feedback live. But one thing I did notice you've done, I think it was when you were at The Verge, was that you'd have these discussions, where it would be I think that I couldn't tell what was going on, but I think that's what was going on. Is all right, here's Black Swan was when I saw it with. Now let's have a discussion about it. And there'd be people commenting, and you and 2 other editors would be in there to kind of give feedback and talk about what other people were saying. That seemed like one of the first evolutions of let's have a discussion about this. Let's make this more animated, I guess, than just you reading my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Interacting, like this, just talking to other people, or, better yet, watching a movie and then sitting in a room with a bunch of people and talking about it, is a lot more kind of lively and freeform than the kind of thing you're talking about, which is usually done in a Google Doc, with a whole bunch of people writing at once and then trying to go back and respond to each other. Yeah. But, however you shape it, however you formalize it, it's really interesting. You go into a movie theater and you sit down with maybe 300, 400 people if it's a big theater and it's full, and you all watch the exact same thing at the exact same time and everybody has different reactions. You know, you walk out of that room and you say, hey, wasn't it great when Iron Man beat up the Hulk? And somebody else is like, seriously, that CGI thing that went on forever? No, the really meaningful part was like when this happened. And somebody else is like, I hate comic book movies. Why did you drag me to this? And somebody else is like, I'm going back into the theater and watching it again right now. You know, everybody sees different things, has different reactions, has different thoughts. And just like listening to a whole bunch of different people talk about how they experienced the same piece of art is just endlessly fascinating to me.
Do you know what that sounds a lot like to me? Is politics.
What a transition.
It does. I'm thinking that, and how we could all be fighting over, I don't know, maybe, I guess there's some people who don't seem like they want the same things, but some people who think they're reaching the same, solving the same issues with totally different philosophies. And I guess that's more of a testament to just like how people think about things and how perception is. But that should have been something we researched coming into this, because I think perception plays a huge role into everything we see. And like, if you go into something saying like, I don't like comic book movies, then you're not going to like that movie. Even if you stripped the comic book aspects of it and it could have been a good movie, like there are some good Marvel movies out there that could make good movies with the superhero and CGI aside, I think. Maybe you disagree. I'm a little sensitive about my own opinion on that one, but I don't know. I think perspective plays a big role in it, which is what's interesting to me about when you see at the end of a movie the critic reviews, or at the end of a trailer when it's like blah 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 said great watch for the family, or who blah blah said like, oh, a blast for 1,000 watches. And you could always find a critic who has an opinion that you can agree with and advertise. Are there critics out there that you look at and you're like, that guy's a sham, he just does it for the marketing or something like that, or like Universal pays him to say good things?
You know, there's this bizarre thing that goes around that's like, oh, the critics all just like this Marvel movie because the studios paid them. Like we're all just kind of getting envelopes of cash under the table to have opinions.
Yeah, show us the envelope.
You know, the critics didn't like Justice League. It must be because Marvel paid them to not like Justice League. And it's so funny to us, honestly. Like that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Like I don't know what you guys do for a living, but if you found out that there was somebody out there that was absolutely convinced, you're wearing a yellow shirt right now. You're probably wearing that yellow shirt because like the yellow industry paid you like $5,000 this morning to put that shirt on. That's what it sounds like to us. So yeah, it doesn't happen. I mean, there are definitely people who there are junkets that the theater industry, I'll take that back. There are junkets that the movie industry throws for some of the big movies where they take certain critics and they might get to like tour behind the scenes or like go on set and see what's going on. Maybe they get to meet the stars of the movie. They get wined and dined and taken around like Universal Studios or whatever. And then they write soft focus like, oh, this is the greatest movie ever. Like that does happen, but those people don't work for reputable companies. The industry does have a pretty strong sense of ethics. And it's like, we mostly get into this business because we have strong opinions about movies. You know, we have strong tastes in movies. And if you think of a movie that you really like and you think about telling your friend like, oh, this movie's great, I really want you to see it. And they just like turned at you and rolled their eyes and said somebody paid you to say that. You don't really believe that. That's what it feels like to us, you know?
Fair enough.
I'm not going to say that like, you know, we're all like these moral bastions of purity or any bullshit like that. It's just, we're very opinionated people, and then to be turned around and told you don't really have that opinion.
Right.
That's something that also goes on a lot in politics right now. Like if you want a strong similarity, that weird lack of empathy that says, if you disagree with me, it's because you're lying about your actual opinion. Because how could anybody possibly disagree with me? And you see that on online discourse in everything from politics to movies to what Kleenex brand do you use? Like, you don't really believe that. You're just virtue signaling. Like, you don't really believe that. You're just towing the party line, like whatever.
Or someone calling someone a troll. Like, you're a troll. You're just trolling me. And it's like sometimes those people actually have those opinions and you're like, I just don't agree with it. That's why I think you're trolling me.
Yeah. And I mean, there are actual trolls. Like, there are people who admit that they make up opinions to needle people because they enjoy getting people aggravated, which is just a point of view I don't particularly understand. But like the widespread belief that nobody could possibly disagree with me is so weird to me. It's just, it's almost incomprehensible to me. And the idea that everybody else is just being disingenuous or like hypocritical to pretend, whatever it is that they believe, it's just, you just really don't understand that other people are slightly different from you, right?
Do you feel like that falls within the same realm of assuming someone is less educated because they don't have the same view as you? Like, because I'm trying to think about that. Like, if it, like, there are some people who, when I talk to, I'm like, I feel like the knowledge that I have is more true, or I have more of it somehow, or of a bigger picture. And the reason you believe that other way is that maybe you don't have that same full picture that I do. And I'm wondering if that kind of falls under that same umbrella.
It's complicated, because sometimes you do have more information. To go back to talking about Avengers Endgame, when you kind of made the comparison between films and politics, my first thought was, the problem right now is that we're not in a political situation where one person says Endgame is the best movie ever and the other person says it sucks. It's more like one person says Endgame is a 3.5-hour movie that ends an 11-year series of movies, and somebody else says, no, it's a 20-minute long cartoon made by Martians. And the first person's like, but none of that's true. And the second person's like, why won't you acknowledge the truth? Who's paying you? Why are you lying?
Yeah.
People just living with entirely different versions of reality and both getting really angry about defending their version of reality, and neither one of them really being able to see the other one. I don't know what we do about it. It's a weird situation to be in.
Well, it's frustrating to think about. Like, you see these people who are physically called upon to act upon their political beliefs and undertake and perform an insurrection, and you're just like, how can you so strongly believe this thing that I see to be so clearly not true? And to the point where people died, and it's actually a serious implication. And you're watching this, and when I first heard that, I was like, okay. And then I kept watching, and it's like, this makes me feel helpless. Like, I don't know, how can you reason with someone who like has a completely different view of you and is willing to be physical about it? Like, I don't know. I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've spent an awful lot of time trying to talk to people with different opinions than mine online, just out of that sort of feeling. Like, when Trump was first elected, a lot of progressives said, well, we need to understand the other side. We need to understand where they're coming from and like what they believe and how we can bridge the gap. And then over the past 4 years, that gap's just gotten wider and wider. And then you have people literally erecting a gallows in front of in front of Congress and storming into the building with the intention of finding the vice president and hanging him. And they were so sure that they would be celebrated as patriots for their actions that they took pictures of themselves doing it and put them on social media, like bragging. And that's just a very different world, not just a different world because they firmly believed they were in the right murdering the vice president, but they believed that they would be hailed as heroes. They believed that the entire world would recognize and hail them as heroes. And that's the world that some people live in. And it's not the world that I live in, but it really underlines the degree to which like different people experience entirely different realities right now.
So I saw that on your Twitter that you post a lot about political things, like your personality on Twitter is you're retweeting. I guess maybe they shouldn't be interpreted as political, but they could be. And you're retweeting things about like at least topical political things, like a lot of the Bernie memes that are coming out recently. You've been retweeting, and those crack me up. But
sitting at the inauguration.
Yeah. And there's like all types of things. Like you've seen Midsummer, right? We watched that together. And there's one of him that she reposted that he has like the headdress on and he's sitting like this, like he's just inundated by whatever that drug they give her at the end. But that being said, do you find your politics crossing into your movie criticism ever? Because I think a lot of movies do address politics, and that could lead to a different perception.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's been a wave over the past, 5 or 6 years. It didn't start with Trump's election. But like as the country's gotten more polarized, there's been just kind of a wave of like patriot movies that have done really well at the box office that are pretty much predicated on the idea that it would be super fine if like liberals all took a bullet and big strong he-men straight out of the military just kind of ran the country.
Mm-hmm. And
it's hard for me to watch a movie like that, like a movie that takes it as read that everybody in Afghanistan is a terrorist, and that like everybody is out to get the military because they hate our freedom. They're not really people. Like movies that come from that mindset, and there are a lot of them, are hard for me to watch and address in a rational, critical way. I mean, in the same sort of way, there may be movies that go too far in a leftist direction and leave me feeling uncomfortable. Michael Moore's films, Michael Moore's politics, I just find very strident and unpleasant and self-righteous and full of like gotchas that feel very fake and forced to me. I don't care for the stunts that he does. Yeah. So when a movie comes from a political stance that I find repellent, it's very difficult to like, I want to say it's very difficult to remain objective. But the truth is that there is no true objectivity in art. You try to write from an objective viewpoint, because if you write from a viewpoint of, okay, well, this dumbass movie is stupid and boring and everybody's going to think so, like you're not reaching anybody that way. Mm-hmm. You want to kind of take a step back and say, okay, so here's what this movie's trying to do. And here's where it's kind of off-putting, or here's where it stumbles over its own argument, or here's where it just says the same thing over and over, or here's where it doesn't acknowledge the humanity of anybody but the hero. You try to sort of, as much as you can, look for the logical flaws that make it what it is. Unless you're a YouTuber or a certain kind of critic, and then you're just like, no, this movie sucked. And then you're having a conversation with people who want to have that conversation. There's one of the things we do with Next Picture Show is like look back at the reviews that a movie got when it first came out. And if you start like looking back at, I don't know, reviews of Citizen Kane or whatever, movie critics were so different back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. And a movie review could basically just be, here's everybody who's in it, and this movie is terrible, don't see it. Yeah. And maybe it's because we all have so much more space on the internet. Maybe it's because everybody has an opinion and now has a forum for it. Mm-hmm. But movie criticism is so much more diverse these days in terms of like what's accessible, what's permissible, how do you engage with your audience? You find an audience that's on the level you want to be. And if I want to talk about the semiotics of a movie, I'm going to get a bunch of like people who care about semiotics. If I want to say this is the blowiest movie that ever blew, I'm going to get a couple of people that are like want to engage with me on that level. Like however you're talking about movies these days, you can kind of find your own audience.
Well, last week we actually talked about like the unconscious bias that everyone kind of carries with them, and whether that's literal environmental effects or your environment interprets socially and things like that. And there was something that we kind of riddled down to that. Yeah.
I don't want to be rude. Excuse me for a minute. I really have to use the bathroom and I will be right back. I didn't want to be rude.
Go ahead, Sean. Thanks for signing off.
Let's take a pingus break.
Yeah. But I guess we're gonna lose two of our hosts right now. But one thing that we were talking about was that you have this unconscious bias and that you carry these into you. And there's a part of your unconscious bias has to do with social psychology and like the idea of fitting into a group or countering explicitly a group. And so that can kind of influence your mind in that way that you may not realize it, but like you want to fit. There's always that niche for a reviewer or something like that to fit into. And ultimately, there's going to be someone to listen. And I find we do this because we enjoy learning new things like unconscious bias and learning from people like you. But I find I watch a lot of podcasts because a lot of people we do this with do have podcasts or do have something else and have been on podcasts, and everyone feels this need to take this super staunch, like, F no, like, absolutely not. I put my foot down here, opinions on things that I'm like, why would you even have such a strong opinion on said thing? Like portobello cheese is the best cheese no matter what. Don't at me, you know. And it's like why even make that stance so hard? But then there's someone as a critic, it seems like from the outside sometimes that you might be paid to have a hard opinion, or really your lifestyle seems to have fit perfectly into having hard opinions on movies, and then being like, all right, I can word this well and tell people exactly why and where my opinion fits into this movie, and why I think it deserves to be listened to. That was a big ramble.
You know, I mean, the question of whether any of us deserves to be listened to is really a pertinent one. And we get that all the time. Is like, are critics still relevant? Like, who cares what critics have to say? They're elitists sitting up in their ivory towers, blah, blah, whatever. If movie criticism isn't interesting to you, if reading movie criticism isn't interesting to you, you don't have to read it. You know, maybe it isn't pertinent to you. If you're like Sean, you want to know as much about a movie beforehand as possible, in order to choose what you want, then movie criticism might be useful. If you don't want somebody's opinion all over your movies, then maybe you just want to look at like a Metacritic rating or a Rotten Tomatoes rating and say, you know, this got like 8 stars. I'll go see this, but I don't want to read anything about it. I think the best film criticism teaches you something interesting about the movie after you've seen it. And you can read that like after watching the movie, and it's still of value because it shows you things in the movie that maybe you hadn't seen. Like, that's more kind of the goal to me than providing a consumer guide. But like, as far as having strong opinions, I come by it naturally. That's just my personality. But the hardest movie reviews to write are always the ones where you have like a really tepid response to a movie. You know, if to use your example, like, if you think portobello cheese is the best cheese and you're like, all other cheese is absolutely disgusting, nobody should eat any other cheese in the world. Yeah. Like, you're going to get people who are on your side. You're going to get people who hate you, but people are going to engage with that opinion because it's strong. If you're like, right, portobello cheese is a cheese and these 40 other cheeses are cheeses too, and I guess you could eat one or something. Like, there's nothing for people to hang on to there.
Although there is probably a market for that.
Yeah. Can we start a cheese website where we just have pictures of like sandwich slices?
This is egg salad.
And every single one of them just says, this is another cheese, I guess.
This one has medium flexibility at room temperature.
Oh, we're giving it a 4.8 shine value based on like reflection of light off the extruded grease. Let me, since we're between immediate topics, like let me ask all three of you guys this: do you read film reviews? And if so, before or after the movie? And like, what do you get out of them? If you care about film criticism at all, like, why? What's the point for you?
Cheek, do you have an answer to that quickly?
I don't read film review.
I read them beforehand.
All right, I wasn't done talking, but JJ, why don't you share your opinion?
Sorry, Cheek.
I'm going to say something that might not come across as very nice, but I feel as though some people like to read film review. Could be reviewer critiques of any sort of industry in order to validate their own opinion. I feel like people use that as a device to validate their thoughts on whatever opinion they may have.
So like we kind of were just talking about that when you're gone, but like I come out of a movie and say, I don't know, lacking in plot. And then I go and read online. It's confirmation bias. And I find a couple of reviews that say the same thing that I thought about the movie. And then bingo, bango. We were kind of talking about that when you were gone. I don't know if you heard, Cheek, but like Tasha was saying that like there's a niche for every critic. So you kind of fit in somewhere. So your problem seems to be more taken up with it's like hating the Kansas City Chiefs because of their fans.
They've got a great fan base.
Okay. It's like hating Portobello fans because of the cheese.
Yeah, I do hate Portobello cheese, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. E, do you read film review at all, or what's your take on that?
I don't. I think it limits you. But I mean, my family does. Like my dad, he goes off of ratings and reviews. He'll say, you know, if it didn't get a 7, I'm not watching or something. Like he really sticks to it. And there are times where I did read film reviews and it's like, oh, I guess I'm not going to watch this or whatever. And I quickly snapped out of it because it was like limiting me, like I said. But that brings up the question to me, Tasha, is I'm curious, do you know what audience you have a following for? Like, do the people that read your reviews read it and still go and see the movies, or are they very particular and like heed warnings and stuff? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, because I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been doing like a lot of different podcasts over the years with a lot of different sites. I came up with the AV Club. I worked for the AV Club for 13 years and was kind of part of their founding group. And then a bunch of us left the AV Club and formed a website with Pitchfork called The Dissolve that was just a film site, you know, not a generalist entertainment site, which most things are these days. And the people who engaged with The Dissolve in particular were just like very hardcore film fans, you know, the kind of people who would watch 100 or more films a year for fun, the kind of people who really enjoyed thinking and talking about film. And I don't think the particular kind of film criticism I do maybe isn't that interesting for the casual fan, for somebody who sees like 10, 15 movies a year, or who only sees movies if they have Adam Sandler in them, or who only sees movies if they're available on Netflix. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I definitely don't mean to imply that there's anything wrong with that. I'm not very engaged with sports myself. You know, everybody has their tastes and their things that they're interested in, and there's nothing wrong with that. But my audience tends to be the kind of people who want to have like long conversations about like what does this aspect of a film contribute to the storytelling? How is this director developed over time? And like what does it mean that Christopher Nolan keeps making movies about time and memory and keeps finding new ways to play with how he pieces together a narrative out of order? Like which of the movies where he does that, which are most of them, does it most effectively, and why? Like people who enjoy having that kind of conversation are more or less the kind of people that read the stuff that I write.
Cool answer.
I love that whole take on just being like, you have a crowd and you have people that want to partake in this like super like, I don't know, molecular conversation about each little plot point, decision, and him as a person and how that influences his film and stuff like that. And that's something that I always feel like I try to have those conversations after a movie, but then I end up feeling just like a doofus because I don't actually know that much. But when you read your work, you can tell that you there's a reason you're a film critic and I'm not, you know? And there's a reason when, and that might not be that much of a compliment, but you can tell by the way you're right that you're concise with your words and you're very, you know exactly what you're saying. You're not dawdling around with broad words and things like that. You're very clear on what you liked and disliked about it and why. And it's well written too. And I guess the reason that I say that is, can you write a review for our podcast?
I would probably have to experience a lot more of the podcast to kind of to contextualize it. You know, that's the kind of thing we talk a lot about is like how do you contextualize this? Like the reviews, the film reviews that I find boring, and thank you for that tremendous compliment, by the way. The film reviews that I find boring are the ones that are just about the film, that are just like, I walked into this movie and in it, a bunch of superheroes fought a purple guy and they fought him before and then they fought him again. And then at the end, there were a whole lot more superheroes and they all fought him some more and things blew up. And it was better than the last one because it had an ending, but it was worse than this other one because it was long. The end. Like, that's it. Like, right. I want something that contextualizes it. I want something that takes in the big picture of, you know, in the case of Endgame, like thinking about how these movies have developed their storytelling language over 11 years of movies and an immense amount of planning, like thinking about how these movies are different from previous superhero movies, from like decades of films that try to crack this particular nut. Like, tell me what the fandom is like and how like Kevin Feige has developed the language of these films. Don't just tell me this happened and then this happened and this happened. It was bad. So, yeah, I mean, what I want more than anything in a movie review that impresses me is kind of the context, the bigger picture. So to review your podcast, I would probably have to listen to like 20 hours of your podcast.
Do yourself a favor and don't waste that time.
Don't do that. Do yourself a favor. Don't.
But that does put into context some of the reviews that I saw you write and some of the criticisms that I've seen that I do appreciate. What was do you know what the origin of criticism was? Like, was it supposed to be advice to someone who hasn't watched it yet?
Can I interject here? In the middle of like rewind a minute and a half, I had a thought that I think is very applicable to what you're asking here. And it was also something because you were in my ears. I could still hear everything while I was peeing and grabbing another beer. You had said something, Tasha had said something about, you know, like who are critics to judge and who cares what critics think. And that got me thinking of, yeah, you know what? Who does care what critics think? And then I started thinking about, I feel like critics, this is just a complete generalization. I feel like critics didn't originally get into the business of criticizing people for that end. I feel like you were talking about the AV club that you started and people who got together to just talk about movies that you liked. And I feel like that's maybe how the idea of criticism of any sort of industry started. A group of people got together to talk about something that they were passionate about and that they really enjoyed. And then other people that were outside of them or disagreed with that opinion were just like, you're just fucking hating on that because you're a critic, like, fuck you. But really, I'm not saying like I didn't have that opinion because I wanted to make you mad. We're all just talking about what we want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was ever an era where critics sat down to make each other mad. Like reading New York Times film reviews from the 40s, which is a kind of a fun thing to do because there was a Times critic, I think he was the Times, named Bowsley Crowther, who's just like the world's biggest crank. He's like the Armand like White of his
Splatoon.
Day.
Also, Mario
sounds like a Scrooge character.
I know, right? He sounds extremely made up. But he just pick a classic movie that's considered a just like an unimpeachable, passed down through the ages inspiration, and go look up the review of that in the New York Times, and he'll be like, balderdash and poppycock, this piece of populist garbage isn't worth the shoes that I walked in on. He's really fun to read. But like reading stuff from that era, it does all kind of read like a Consumer Report. Like, I went to the theater of an evening and I found it wasn't worth the dust on my spats. Like that's kind of the feel of everything. I don't know that I know a whole bunch about the history of like film criticism in particular. If you start stepping back and looking at criticism, I don't even know how far back that goes. But I know that like for the French, like Cahiers du Cinéma was kind of the changing point for film criticism, where they started talking a lot more about the language of movie making and the different levels of storytelling and all of the different tools that come into creating a mood in a film, as opposed to just kind of the narrative. Like an awful lot of that early criticism reads an awful lot like our current criticism, which tends to be very, very story based. Yeah. Except in the 40s reviews, you have a lot more, and then I'm trying to think of a good name. And then Miss Hepburn appears in the most ravishing dress, and then like an entire paragraph describing her dress. That kind of thing that it almost reads like celebrity gossip. Like the primary reason you'd go to the movies in the 40s was to see a handful of people that you recognized and like how dashing are their clothes. Yeah. So, the French critics kind of changed how you address film by talking about the filmmaking as opposed to talking about like who's wearing what, and exactly how exciting and well dressed they are. But I've watched film criticism evolve very rapidly just during the time that I've been doing it, and it's been really interesting to see kind of how it's broken up into kind of, as I said earlier, like all of these different audiences and people finding their different levels of engagement. My husband is actually really into like YouTube reaction videos, just like watching people watch movies for the first time, which is not a form of criticism that, could have existed 15 years ago, but is really common now. And it's like a social activity. You sit down with your favorite YouTube star and watch a movie with them effectively. That's just an entirely new way of engaging with an audience. And it is a form of film criticism, It is a form of showing somebody what you think of a movie, how you experience a movie, and sharing it with people. And it's very different. And it's sort of a hint of like how film criticism is going to continue to evolve for different audiences and in different forms and with different technologies in different ways.
Well, that's exciting to think about. I never thought about how like that is a form of criticism, like watching someone watch a movie.
The reactions.
I always think of Action Bronson watching Ancient Aliens. There was a whole stream where you could watch just the episode, but while he watched it as well. And that's probably a slightly different form of criticism than you're talking about. But I don't want to keep you too long, and we have one more segment that we kind of want to get to. And the more we've talked about critiques, the more I've wanted to get your reaction on this. And so each of our episodes, if you have time, each of our episodes we do like a variety bit. And one that we have done is we look at Amazon critiques or reviews, and we laugh at them. So we'd like
I'm already excited.
Yeah, so Eli has pulled up. We did it for the first time last week, and we're like, it would be so awesome to have an actual critic listen to some people's reviews and critique them maybe, and at least dissect them like the plot of a movie. And I think that the more that this episode has gone on, the more I've been rubbing my thighs, getting excited for the idea of you critiquing these critiques. And if I had some cool background music or a soundboard, we'd do like a Jimmy Fallon type thing, like Amazon critiques, and be like, what's that?
We should have had her, or we should have had me perform my monologue that I did last or was that last episode or 2 episodes ago? And have her critique my monologue.
Well, Cheek, it's not all about you. I'm sorry to tell you, but
It should be.
This one's about you. It could be.
Can we put the monologue up on Amazon and have people on Amazon critique it?
Yeah. It'll be a spinning.
Well, Tosh, before I get into this,
just create a nickname for Tasha.
From Tasha to Tosh.
All right.
Tosh, you've been a fantastic guest. I have loved every second of this. I think you're spot on for this podcast because we all love movies, and it was an awesome take-in to hear a critic. I guess I have so many questions, but one more. It seems like you've seen lots of movies from different generations. Is there a certain era that you have a particular fancy for, like, I don't know, old school like Marx Brothers, or is like 70s, 80s, an era of films that like really hit home for you?
Wow. I mean, I really love 40s noir, you know, the kind of movie where all femmes are fatale and all men are hard bitten and the ends are usually pretty depressing. And the cinematography is just amazing. You know, the era of black and white movies where everything looks like pitch perfect planned and the world is grim, but everything's also kind of a thrill at the same time. And I like neo-noirs kind of for the same reason, because they channel the same things, but like move us into different eras. But if I'm being honest, I mean, like there are movies from the 70s that I really love for their kind of like sprawling expansiveness. And again, the kind of downer ending era. There are movies from the 90s I love because they're just so freaking cheesy. But I kind of feel like my favorite era of cinema is right now. You know, cinema is just so much more diverse than it used to be. And I mean that, you know, in the way that it's used these days in terms of casting, in terms of like, we're finally getting stories about Black people and Asian people and young people and people from, you know, different cultures that aren't the biggest, broadest American ethnic groups. We're finally getting movies made from like every country around the world. Countries that didn't used to have any kind of like cinematic output are putting out movies now. And countries that just started having a cinematic output are just starting to stretch into like genre films. Like we're getting our first Indian horror films, which is really exciting. So like there's that aspect of it just in terms of like ethnicity and color, but because it's become so comparatively cheap and easy to make films compared to what it used to be, you know, the digital revolution has just made filmmaking accessible. We're just getting films from all kinds of points of view and all kinds of different kind of storytelling. And it's intimidating in terms of there's no way for any one person to take it in. You know, at this point, I think the last number I saw was something like more than 800 films are being released every year. And
Wow.
you can't keep up. There's no way to keep up. And you're kind of trying to drink from a fire hose. But what you're getting, like, I think storytelling keeps getting more sophisticated. They becoming more and more like dynamic and interesting tools to tell those stories with. People are valuing realistic acting in a way that a lot of prior eras didn't. Like, I grew up on 80s movies and I can't go back to them because if there's a kid in that movie, they're basically little robot aliens. They act nothing like actual children. But yeah, it's like movies right now are to me more exciting than they've ever been. Just more interesting, more fun, more creative, more colorful, kind of more weird. The more people you get telling their very specific movies for their very specific audiences, the more weird you can get. And I love weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So many niche videos that you're like, I did not even know that there was a story behind this. That there was something to tell. Like, I don't know, like the show Yellowstone, or shows like these miniseries have been really getting into that too, where you're just like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of, I mean, obviously they're dramatizations, but It is. It's Yellowstone's a bad example now that I think of it, but it's what I'm watching right now. But there are so many niches that you're just like, wow, I didn't know there was a story to tell there. I didn't know at all.
Weirdness too.
We love weird. We love weird.
Should we get into the weird Amazons?
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
This,
can you first review your findings on Amazon, and then we'll read the views, and then we'll hear Tasha's reviews of the reviews?
Review my reviews? What do you mean by that?
I want you to review the reviews that you found.
All right. Well, first off, I think we're going to need some visuals for some of these. So I sent you a PDF
did you?
Of all of them.
To which email?
I just texted it to you. Does that work?
Oh, that works.
While we're pulling that up,
Well, this...
Tasha, that question that you asked at the beginning, what is your favorite worst movie that I couldn't answer at the time? I have pulled an answer for that movie.
Yes.
All right, let's hear it.
Go,
Waiting.
Sean. Waiting.
Remind me
Which
what
one's that?
Waiting is. It strikes a bell, but I think I'm actually thinking of a different movie.
Waiting
I'm thinking of
is
Waitress.
Dane Cook. It's Ryan Reynolds. Anna Faris. They play different characters in the restaurant industry. People working at, I believe the restaurant is Shenanigans, and just all the vulgar, awful, terrible things that happen in restaurant life. And it's all obviously blown up. It's all exaggerated tenfold, but just an incredible.
Is that the movie where they keep going on
movie.
about flair?
About flair?
About flair, about how much flair you're wearing?
Yes, it is.
Office
Okay,
Space?
so tell me why it's terrible, because I don't remember it very well, and tell me why you love it.
I love it because I work in that industry, and while everything is exaggerated tenfold, it's also completely accurate. It's terrible because also because it's accurate. The cooks, the cooks are portrayed as these people who couldn't give three fucks what the customers want to hear or what their issue is with the food. And, there's the scene of Dane Cook, like putting his dandruff into the meal. Like, that's not true, but like everybody talks about that. Like, oh yeah, that customer is being a fucking prick. Like, why don't you just, like it's not okay. Like the pretty boy waiter hits on the 17-year-old hostess for the night who really wants to get with him, but that's not okay. But like, it was made in 2000, so they do it anyway, It was an awful movie, but it was incredible.
I remember that
relevant.
one, Cheek. People in the restaurant industry.
That was a fun movie.
People in the restaurant industry.
People in the restaurant industry love that movie. And the worst part about that movie, it was the game that the men played for some reason. This isn't true as far as my restaurant experience, but they would try and like show each other like their ball sack in different positions. And if other people caught it in different ways, you would get points. Like, that's why the movie was awful. That actually doesn't happen in the restaurant industry, as far as I know. But like, everyone does wear that little apron, and they're like, maybe check this out.
Maybe you're just not working in the right restaurants.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not. I can get creative. I'll tell you what.
I don't know if there's a right restaurant for those antics, but
anyway.
All right, let's go. E, are you ready to review some stuff?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. I'm going to put this on. Tasha, can you see my screen? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I can.
You got taken off it, though. Hold on. Give me a second. This is all new to me. What's going on? And
what's going on?
4. There we go. We're back. Hopefully that's not covering your face. I was trying to cover Sean's, but I didn't do a good job.
I get that a lot.
All right, E, tell us what I'm looking at here.
All right. Well, these are Amazon reviews. This first one is a baklava of an anonymous face, and it just does not look as it should. The nose is completely enlarged, so it just looks ridiculous. I just thought it was hilarious how stupid it looked, and the reviews were ass. But I like how at the end this guy says, Basically doesn't fit as how it should, but he has a little disclaimer. The fact that it's printed on both sides doesn't really bother me, though. Is not how it
Can you
looks.
read
And there's
the
a second
entire review?
photo.
Yeah,
It's not worth it. We should.
It's
There's
super
more.
small type.
Yeah. All right. Well, I
It's
do
nothing-
want to hear your interpretation of these reviews.
My interpretation of them.
Yeah, read them. Read them with
Here's
the
another-
voice these
all right.
people said it in.
I guess I should have read all the other reviews before buying this product. Design is much larger than it should be. It's not even close to the photos included in this listing. The fact it's printed on both sides doesn't really bother me, though.
What's the point of putting that last part in there? Like, he like had to say it.
What I love, it's a theme throughout these reviews, though, is like it's like emotional at first, like they hated it, like it really failed them, and they reviewed it, and then they try to be like objectively honest, like, but like this is my objective take. Like it does have a sort of balanced side to it.
It's almost, if I was to critique that one, it's almost braggadocious that he wanted to be angry at first, but then at the end he wanted to tell us that he knew something about printing and masks.
Yeah.
So he looked at it and he was like, I do recognize that they printed it on both sides. Not that bothered me in any way.
The same
So
doofus
the
with the big
second
nose.
picture, I think, is a lot more illustrative of what is going on here with
I
people.
agree.
So it's meant to be the V for Vendetta mask face, that
Right.
Anonymous took up. And what we're getting is this person in a baklava, like that starts at the cheekbones and goes down to the chest. And basically the nose of the V for Vendetta character is so huge that it's the entire chin. And then like the
Yeah.
mustache and the smile are all just kind of rucked up on the neck and looks like really loose neck folds. And it's pretty hilarious looking.
I have to say they did a good job with like the 3D. I'm sorry, it closed out. Here we go. With the 3D-ness of it, because me looking at this, like I am like, how big? It looks like the way this guy's wearing it, that his nose actually goes all the way down there.
Right. It looks absurd.
I was just like, who's this thumb man from Spy Kids 1? Like, I don't understand.
I forgot that we're on a podcast and people
It
can't
looks
see
like
the
he
visual.
was kind of like. It looks
Yeah,
like he's
go ahead,
supposed to
Tasha.
have like a giraffe length neck, and the mask face is supposed to be on the neck, and it all just kind of got bunched up on a normal sized neck. It looks like the V for Vendetta guy got like caught in a really bad fire, and his face just melted down somebody else's neck.
Like the V for Vendetta guy was supposed to exist like 2,000 leagues under the sea, and someone brought him up to sea level. He's just like expanded.
Like he got stung by a bee with allergic reaction.
It makes the face, that's like the smile on the V for Vendetta face is meant to be like very menacing, very kind of like aggressively sly. And here just like the lips are all kind of mushed up together at throat level. And it just kind of looks like he's going,
Yeah.
It's quite the expression.
It does. Like
I can't
like
wait
he
to get
just
one
got
of these
his-
for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. How much does this cost, E? Can we?
I didn't keep the statistics.
All right. The statistics. All right. You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right. What is this for?
All right, so this next one was a favorite lookup of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It was a group of cherub statues, or no, this one in particular was a little cherub boy for the garden.
Mm-hmm.
And the comment is, it's a great sculpture. You got 3 stars because it is looking down and you cannot see the pleasant, curious angel face. That is not a problem in the garden soil. I pushed in the heels deeper into the dirt to give the angel a more erect stance, so now we can see the face. You cannot do this on a hard floor surface. It also works on a desk or table, where it does not matter if the face is pointing down.
Oh my God.
A little bizarre, but
This guy seems like he spent some quality time with the product before he wrote this review.
yeah, I don't know. I have something about cherub statues, and this one stood out to me as odd.
What is a cherub
A
statue?
cherub is one of
You
those
cannot do this
chubby
on a
babies
hard
with
floor
wings.
surface.
What
We
is-
don't have a picture of
I do have pictures included.
Of this
Go
one?
down, yeah.
Of the cherub statue?
Yeah, I do.
It's
Go down a few.
All right, let it load. But I have a couple more questions about this. This guy sounds like he's writing 50 Shades of Grey for cherub statues. The detail that he goes into is nearly sensual, and I do not appreciate it.
You cannot see the pleasant, curious angel face.
How down these cherubs are looking.
Yeah, for some reason it's not loading for me right now. But we got something here. Hold on. I just got a peek at something. Is this how far are these the cherub statues?
Yeah, those are some of them.
Yeah.
Not the one he's referring to, but that's
oh wow,
part of the collection.
Okay.
Yeah,
that metal cherub, I guess, is clutching its own knee up into its groin. That's really not what it looks like it's doing, though.
Yeah, it's they couldn't decide between the peeing statue. Yeah. But all right, here we go.
That's weird.
Is this another one? Oh, here we go. That's a good one.
That's the one that
that's a
the
good
author's
one.
talking about.
That's really good.
Oh my god, that is a belligerent looking cherub.
What's going on?
All right, I have never seen a cherub with like man boobs before, or a cherub with like fat rolls. Like this one, it doesn't look like a. It doesn't look like a cute
It's
little
not
chubby
baby fat.
What?
Yeah, no,
is a
it's
cherub?
like ripped man abs.
It looks like they started making a gargoyle and then ended up making a cherub statue.
A cherub is like a religious baby with wings.
Oh my gosh. All right, let me just one more time. Now that I have that in my mind, I want to see what this says again. That is a problem in the garden soil. I pushed in the heels deeper into the dirt to give the angel more of an erect stance, so now we can see his face. You cannot do this on a hard floor surface.
That's my favorite line.
Very obviously, it is. It also works on a desk or a table where it does not matter if the face is pointing down. Wow. 2019 was Gathering Tree's big year. Sounds like
3 stars, very fair.
Yeah,
very fair.
Very fair. I guess based on that review, that's what you'd expect. Is this the same one or is this the group?
Oh, this one.
Oh, I'm on to the next one. Sorry.
All right, so this is an Amazon product for coyote urine. And this person said, sprayed it at my annoying brother. 5 stars.
Wait, what is it?
It's coyote piss in an aerosol can.
They sell this on Amazon?
Yeah. And then go to this next one because it makes more sense. But this next one says, it did nothing to keep the deer away. Which out of context is hilarious.
I think my favorite part of the I sprayed the deer spray at my annoying brother review is that 2 people have checked this is a helpful review.
Yes.
So it says underneath, 2 people found this helpful.
I really think who did find that? Honestly, who found that helpful but not this one? Like this seems like that's what it's meant for.
Yeah, so it's like why are they selling coyote urine in an aerosol can? And it is a deer repellent for plants, but
repellent.
Out of context, it did nothing to keep the deer away. It sounds like the plot for a horror movie.
I think for me, in the context of today's conversation, is that like, is if you review the first one by itself, yeah, that's funny. Like this is obviously a little meddling little child, like trying to be get in some hijinks at home. But if you want the full Christopher Nolan story, like the full context of it, then you come down to this review and you see this person was just vigilantly disimpressed by by its inability to keep the deer away.
See, I think this is a prime opportunity to think about how everybody experiences art differently. Because you looked at, I sprayed coyote urine on my annoying brother, and you immediately pictured a small obnoxious child. I immediately pictured like the 17-year-old older brother who's constantly lording it over like the roughly 13-year-old younger brother. I think we maybe all would have different images, different mental images of what an annoying brother who deserves to be sprayed with coyote urine looks like.
Very true. I think that like I don't know. I would have never been able to figure out what the issue was there when you were first reading that other one. But I have another one pulled up here, and I like the.
Also, the annoying brother could be just like a 6-year-old man with his 50-year-old brother.
Yeah, exactly. The older they get, the funnier that review gets.
Yeah.
So you got the next one pulled up. This one is for diapers, adult diapers. This is by Kiki. You get a lot of them, but they're made of freaking plastic. Sweatiest diapers ever, and they leak really bad. Gross.
Oh,
I do not recommend these for anyone you love or care about.
I feel kind of bad for this person.
That's not the review you want to see for diapers.
This is what I want my reviews to look like. It's informative. It covers the basics. It tells you what you need to know. It's very evocative.
Most importantly,
as soon as you start
context.
saying leaky plastic diapers.
My gosh.
Yeah.
I feel bad for this person. They obviously had an embarrassing scenario play out and took directly to the forums.
Very explicit.
Yeah.
Sweatiest diapers, leak really bad, gross. Yeah, it paints a picture for you.
I hope they were wearing plastic pants. Oh my god.
Well, the plastic pants are also very sweaty, but that's a different review.
Yeah. That came in the recommendations with these diapers. People also bought plastic pants. I don't know what else there is to say for that one. I feel so bad for that person. Tough day. Definitely deserved a 1-star review. Sometimes you read the review and you're like, why did you? They'll be like crapping on it, and they, as no pun intended, but they'll be crapping on it, and it gets a 3-star review, and I'm like, that's kind of misleading. Like, how did you?
I love when they do that.
Yeah.
This sucks. I'll give it 3 stars.
Yeah.
This next one,
Worst thing ever.
Yeah.
4 stars.
I want to read this whole thing. Just the first sentence made me laugh, and that's why I took a screen cap. But this is for an Amazon order of 1,500 ladybugs.
Live ones?
Yeah, 5 ladybugs. You get them in like a Tupperware full of them, and a lot of negative reviews because people get like 30 of them left alive when there's 1,500. Kind of sad, but I just like this one because it goes, I ordered 1,500 ladybugs to eat the aphids that were destroying my bean plants. I love beans, so bean plants was a home run for me.
The small plastic tub was mostly food and contained approximately what looked like 200 to 300 bugs. About 25 were moving. I read the review that July is not the best month to buy these, but if that's the case, they should screen their orders better or provide better protection. I took out these bugs over 2 nights into my vegetable and flower gardens, keeping the box in the dark. Cool basement the second day instead of the fridge. I thought that was cruel. I mostly shook out carcasses and food. I saw about 5 ladybugs in my vegetables, but I'm not. That's all I can do. What this makes me think of is this person's world is too small. They need to go out and travel. They
are staying home with their bean plants every day.
I mean, maybe they're in quarantine. Like, you know, maybe travel isn't an option. And
That's true.
The only thing that is an option is ordering 1,500 ladybugs.
Back in 2014.
I have to say that I don't know what this is.
Oh yeah, good point. It is from 2014.
I have to say that it's 2014. We have empirical evidence that this person is factually not in quarantine and that they need to go at least to the neighboring city to get a little perspective. This reminds me of my dad in his small town. Just kind of like just too worried about the small things around him, I guess is what I think of. Sorry, I'm having some computer pish poshes, but we're back on it. Let's see, what else you got for us?
This next one got chunked up a bit with the others.
Where is it? Which one are we on right now? Yeah, this is the one I peeked at. I was
Well, but our last one, Cheek started digging into MAGA gear, and this one has the Punisher skull with the Trump hairdo on top. And nothing about this review was really funny to me other than the picture, but I'll read some of the other reviews that they aren't next in the PDF. But one person wrote, "This is a great hat, and Trump is a great president," which made me giggle.
I feel like that's
and another
hat
one
that a QAnon follower, like that's a QAnon hat. I don't know.
Well, yeah, look at his shirt. You see his shirt? It says we are Q with American flag over it.
Oh,
Cheek, your instincts
all right.
have served you correctly.
My instincts nailed it.
Perfect. I love the message. Don't tread on us. Keep America great. He put hashtags in his Amazon review.
And then the best part, I didn't realize this till now. The subject line is nice.
Nice. I just imagine the thing is like
Wow.
he wants to come across in text as like emphatic about this product, but the picture that he puts on there makes him look like that he has never been excited about anything. Like he just sitting there.
Yeah, it's so grim. Like
very grim.
if the review basically read, "I hate this hat," and the entire world, it would fit the picture just fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's mean mugging into the camera super hard.
That's a hot take. Like, what would actually be the caption to this? Like drinking is my life. Harley, AIM is Harley 2020 or something like that.
No,
Who stole my
it's something
guns?
about hair. It's like lost all my hair, found a great hat to cover it up.
That'd be a good one. That'd be like one of those Instagram ads. Like, who needs hair when you can wear Donald Trump's?
I thought that the logo was so genius. Like at some point, someone's going to create this. The Punisher logo with Trump hair.
Yeah, that is
It
great.
is so funny.
Like if he didn't wear that, I would buy that thinking it was a joke. Like I'd be like, this is
Oh, yeah,
this is a
absolutely.
parody of something. But what's this one, E?
Oh, back to you know what this is. This is for a piss jug.
What?
This is for an Amazon
Is this
piss
also
jug.
sweaty and leaky?
It works for women. It works for men. There's a
It's like a travel pee
travel pee jug,
apparatus?
and it's advertised for in nature, in the car. Whenever you got to go, you got it there.
Great
And-
for road trips.
I only took a screenshot of one, but there are so many more like this. So basically, the thing leaks.
No.
No, it leaks.
Forget this thing. I thought it would be helpful since you can't go anywhere to pee during this pandemic. Tried this, and adapter for women came off. It's only useful if limited situations. Better off with a 44-ounce cup from local gas station store. Way easier. This is a fail. What's
All right.
sad is that there are like
This implies to me that this woman has spent a lot of time peeing into 44-ounce like Slurpee cups.
oh yeah,
Wait.
she's been there. She's been there.
All right, if I drink about 2 Aquafinas in 3 hours, I can fill up 2 44-ounce cups in 5 hours. She seems like she has it all calculated out. And my other thought is, I don't want to get into biology here, but why does a guy need this?
In a jug.
Why?
I
Is
mean,
it
if
always
you're in the
funny
car,
around?
if you're in the car,
Is it just a funnel?
Maybe you're on a road trip.
yeah, it's like a little canteen and a nozzle, and the thing is the cap just sucks. The cap is really bad. So there are like at least 50 other reviews of this where everyone goes leaking. It leaked. It ruined my car. It ruined my truck. It's all over the place. There's piss everywhere. It is.
I feel
It's
like
so
this is for
sad.
truck drivers.
Yeah,
This
it
is
works
for
on the road.
18-wheeler truck drivers.
I guess it's for men in cars and women in the outdoors or cars.
Well, my mom has a pee mate, and it like has this
Wait,
fold out
wait.
thing.
Emily has a P-mate?
Yeah, it's a popular brand. You can buy it at REI, and it helps you pee in the woods, and it seems helpful. And I think I need an image is what I'm talking about. Do you have an image in this document?
I don't. Not of that pee jug.
That's all right. I'll use my imagination. I don't know. Tasha, what do you think about this? You're the critic here. I need to know your thoughts on this.
I mean, I think this one's lacking really some necessary context. Like, where was she when she was trying to pee into this thing? And was there a Slurpee cup available? Like, paint more of a picture for us here is basically what I'm feeling. Like the V for Vendetta baklavas, like they really painted an evocative picture of what was wrong with the giant nose and the rucked up face. And in this case, I'm just like, where are you trying to pee? Like, why are you trying to pee?
Yeah.
Like bring us in on this. I want to feel the empathy.
Where's the pathos and the ethos?
There's one video. If you go to like customer reviews, people can post videos. And this one woman spends 2 minutes reviewing the product, what it is, why you would need it, how it works. And then only at the very end of the 2 minutes, like the last 10 seconds, she fills up with water, turns it upside down and goes, it leaks. It's a bad product.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. She's a
It's like a very
hater.
objective review.
Yeah.
Like doesn't even mention that it leaks in the intro of it. Gives it like an average review.
Really?
Yeah,
She
very
went
strange.
to the point of filming it and saying it leaks.
I don't know why I didn't include it. Let's go on the next one.
You know what this one makes me think of now is that so I'm now thinking do you think there is you know how like people post to Instagram and try to get the most likes they can get? Do you think people try to write out reviews to get the most like helpfuls and check in on when they get it back? And maybe we could provide a resource for them to be the most helpful. Like Tasha could tell them, hey, I'll tell you how to write a helpful review. So Devin, you need more context. You need more where you're coming from, what your previous experiences were. Like, do you think that some people go on there just to be like, I want to write an inspirational review? Like the early onset critics. I don't know.
In my experience, people tend to leave product reviews because they're really pissed off about something. There are definitely positive reviews, but they always seem to be outnumbered by people who are just, you're mad and you're trying to express it to somebody. And, that seems to dominate. Like, it's why I don't find Yelp very useful. It's just like a place for people to vent because their delivery showed up like an hour late or missing the egg rolls or whatever.
Right.
So I don't see that as much. What I do really love about Amazon reviews is when something just really takes off and people start posting funny reviews.
Yeah.
Like the phenomenon that happened around like Three Moon Wolf shirt or like the Haribo gummy bears. And you just see people being creative and funny about their so-called product reviews. But in this case, what I'm seeing is a lot of people that are just like, I feel like I wasted my money and I'm angry and I want everybody to know that I'm angry.
Well, last week we read a review from someone who had bought potpourri and she said like the scent didn't last very long, like waste of money on this thing during a pandemic when I could have bought food. And I was like, would that have changed if this was a quality product? Like, would you have eaten it? You still wasted the money on it regardless. Also,
this potpourri continued to smell delicious and spicy for 6 months. I'm so glad I did that instead of eating food during that 6 months.
Yeah. This is also making me think that we should have kept the cherub dolls in the bottom right corner. Tasha Robinson and the cherub dolls, or whatever you call it. Oh, I got to take these off the screen.
That's my 40s band name.
Yeah, that does sound like a Motown band.
Tasha Robinson, the cherub.
What? We don't have many more.
The squatting cherub is just really disturbing. The squatting cherub looks like he's like popping a squat to take a poop and did not bring his sweaty plastic diaper or his pee guard. And then he just looks really belligerent about it.
It's such a belligerent
The squatting cherub
face.
is also holding his hand out in front of him and there's something dark in it. But you
It's
can't
a
really
snail.
tell what it is.
Snail.
Like, what is that about?
It's a snail. I could see from your perspective, it could be
Oh
one
my
of
God,
his
it is a
poos
snail.
that he just
Okay.
leaked out.
Poopy.
It's a
okay,
little-
you zoomed in on it and it's a snail. And
Yeah.
why the hell is Squatting Chair presenting us with a snail? Especially with that look on his face that says, I'm about to eat this snail.
Well, what I'm gonna assume is that his cherub parents weren't looking and he ran out to the backyard. And in the meantime, he picked up this snail. He's already eaten 4 or 5 at this point, so it's filled his stomach. So now he needs to poop out snails, but at the same time, he wants to eat this snail.
Sign that 6th one.
He knows it's like all you can eat sushi.
Do I do it or not?
But it's garden snails. All right, let's move on. I hate this cherub. It grosses me out. I don't know why.
One
You're
is
under a really
bit
bad place
disturbing.
in your cherub life where you've got such an eating compulsion that you've got to eat even while you're pooping.
I know, like you have cherub privilege. Like, why do you have to be just chowing down on snails?
Cherub privilege. This one is for sticky bras.
Okay, hit us.
Oh man. Title is clearly used. This
Oh.
was obviously a return item. There was lint all over the front of the cup. And on the sticky part, there were strands of long dark hair and also what seemed like cat or dog hair. Didn't even come in a package or with instructions like I saw in the reviews. It just came in a plastic Ziploc baggie. So disappointed. Also, you can see hole imprints throughout tight materials. That one is disgusting.
That's weird.
What is this thing again?
It's a sticky bra.
It's like the strapless bra. basically.
Ugh.
Yeah, strapless.
Yeah,
I've
that's
never seen one of those with holes in it like that. That's so strange.
yeah. It looks like a jock strap.
It's
Maybe
supposed to let your. It looks like a colander to me.
yeah.
It does look
Is
like
it that's just like supposed to let your boobs breathe?
Yeah, I'm guessing that's the design purpose. I don't know. Maybe we should. I think I'm going to take up the career of being like one of the best Amazon critics on Amazon. I'm going to start writing like really thought out Tasha Robinson type reviews, and so I'm going to take this one and like I'm going to take the light side of it. I'm going to look at it and say, yes, it was used and it wasn't good for what it was made for, but I can think of 3 other uses for it. So I did actually end up getting value for it. So I could strain, if I'm making a hot pasta dinner on a cold night, guess what? I'll put this thing in the dishwasher first and strain some pasta out of it. And then, you know what? Next day I got to play a football game. Jock strap, boom, protection. And then the next day I want to dress up like Jason from next day's October 31st.
I got my Halloween costume all planned out. A little dog hair in the mouth, but it's okay.
All right, let's move on.
I mean, I don't want to poo-poo anybody's life plans. Like, you got your goals, and they say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Mhm.
But I think you're going to find it really hard to monetize being the best Amazon critic, given that people can't follow you. Like, there's no parasocial aspect to it. And I don't know, maybe you can put up like a Ko-Fi to so people can send you money for your Amazon reviews. But it's going to be very hard building yourself a brand and a following over time.
That's
So,
true. I'll create
I'll tell you what.
a good logo. Oh, Cheek, tell us.
I just recently, not proud of it, joined TikTok. And
Yes.
one of
Was it the sea
Finally.
shanties?
no, so one of
See,
my favorite accounts that I found is somebody who lives in New York City reviewing public sinks. So
The
maybe
sink,
I've seen that one.
yeah, the sink
so
reviews.
maybe Eli just needs to make a TikTok reviewing Amazon reviews.
Ooh, that would be a good one. That'd be
I'm sure
reviewing
there's a
the
market for
reviewers.
it.
I bet.
Hmm.
I don't know if it'd work out. It took me 4 hours to get like these 8 different reviews.
Maybe I'll have like a catchy
Well-
saying at the end of my reviews. I'll like put something at the end that's like, that's one more check. See you back from heck or something.
That might need a little workshop.
Yeah.
Do you guys know about
Might need to refine that.
Letterboxd?
What's
Do you
that?
use the Letterboxd site at all? Letterboxd is like I don't know if you know about like Goodreads, but it's like Goodreads for movies. It's a social network that's just where you like log the films that you've seen and review them.
Oh, that's
and you
cool.
can follow people and you can make lists. So people make like funny lists all the time. But there's a Twitter account that all it does is just like collect the most absolutely batshit Letterboxd movie reviews. Just the most crazy, like off-based things that people say about movies. And they're hilarious. One of my favorite ones was basically like I think it was a 2-star review of a movie. It was a while back, so I don't remember the movie, but it was basically this movie was terrible, but my girlfriend got bored, so we had sex. So I think it was a great movie. So it's all stuff like that. That's just like coming from kind of bizarre perspectives, but just really entertaining to read.
Do you have an account on there that you'd like to share?
Maybe that's what you need to do with your planned bra and diaper reviews on Amazon.
That I will. Maybe that'll be a thing. I'll specialize in bra and diapers, and the three of us can work together. You'll be the editor, E, and Cheek and I'll be the writers. I'll specialize in diapers, and Cheek will specialize in bras. We'll create a little publication.
Maybe you can like niche it down to focusing on crossovers, like which diapers would make the best bras, which bras can be repurposed as the best diapers.
Yeah,
that's good. I need 300 words by Saturday on this plastic Pampers.
Tasha,
what's the
do you
cup
have
size on these baby diapers?
The cup size on the baby, either this baby had some chunky cheeks or these were made for breasts. All right.
Tasha, do you have an account for Letterboxd that you'd like to share?
It's just Tasha Robinson. I generally don't get very creative with my usernames on social networks because I'm actually, as I said earlier, I like talking to people about movies. So I'm Tasha Robinson on Twitter. I'm Tasha Robinson on Letterboxd. I'm Tasha Robinson on Goodreads. I'm very boring and easy to find.
Yeah.
Did you ever end up reviewing Paul Blart Mall Cop?
I have not seen Paul Blart Mop Cop. I haven't seen Paul Blart Mop Cop either. That's the sequel where he gets busted down to janitor and he's just a mop cop. I never saw Paul Blart. And I never saw Observe and Report, which is very related, but people say it's way better.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah, I hear it's just like a surprisingly good, weird movie, but I've just never seen it.
It's more fucked up than you'd ever think it would be, just based off like the first 20 minutes.
Which one? Paul Blart?
Yeah, I actually...
Observe and Report.
One of the aspects of being an editor, a film and TV editor, is that I get to commission people to write about films that I don't know anything about. And we had somebody write in like during the police protests last year, like the big nationwide Black Lives Matter protests. I had a freelancer pitch a piece about Observe and Report specifically and how it kind of anticipated a lot of the problems that people are bringing up now about police culture. And it kind of goes into some of the toxic mentality of law enforcement that you see in that movie. Mm-hmm. And that's always another form of film criticism that I really enjoy is kind of like this movie that you maybe haven't thought about in a long time has some interesting social commentary that's relevant to the present. Yeah. Those can always be interesting essays.
Yeah.
It's also,
that's a good point. Simpsons.
You think Seth Rogen, you don't necessarily think of movies that speak strongly towards issues that we talk about or that are sensitive or that matter. Like Seth Rogen, you think of as, like he's going to make another movie about smoking weed. And this movie definitely addresses mental health in a way that you never think it would, which is very cool. And you don't give Seth Rogen enough credit for. So all I'll say is it's a fun movie. It's and it has more relevance than you would think it does now. But Paul Blart, I think Far and Beyond, that doesn't receive as much recognition as it does deserve. And I think we can all get behind that, right, Jay?
I think it doesn't get as much recognition as it deserves.
It deserves far more recognition, you know?
I mean, sometimes you just come across a movie that is absolute garbage, but it defines the generation. Like, I don't think Shrek is an absolute garbage movie, but that was such a strange movie that defines so much culture for the ages.
Do you really think so?
Yeah, it got put in. I'm not going to be able to reference it correctly.
The Library of Congress?
Yeah, Library
of Congress.
But they only put like 20 movies in there or something.
Really? No, I think it's really easy to get into the Library of Congress. Library of Canberra.
No,
Library of Canberra.
15 movies a year that are inducted into the Library of Congress.
Oh, okay.
I sent that to one of you. That bit of information. Sorry to interrupt you, Tasha.
No, that's fine. Shrek was kind of a watershed movie for like basically the DreamWorks brand. The kind of trying to be like edgy, hip, up to the moment humor was Shrek kind of came along in an era where animated movies tended to be a lot more sincere and a lot less playing around with that particular kind of humor. And it came at a point where DreamWorks was really kind of trying to define itself as an animation studio. And then it shifted pretty broadly as a result of the success of that movie. And then it made a crap ton of money. So there were a crap ton of imitators. I mean, I do think it's a reasonably influential movie. Now, if you look at all the sequels are just kind of like, okay, whatever. Just, medieval jokes, I guess, and ogre fart humor. But that first one,
yeah,
I think the first one holds up.
Yeah, I feel like if you did a spin-off podcast, it would be called Ogre Fart Humor.
You know it would be. Something about it. I'm a man of simple taste.
Yeah, you are.
Speaking of simple taste, let's get back to the Amazon
reviews.
Yeah,
do you want to finish these off? I feel like we've kept Tasha for way longer than she wants.
I apologize, Tasha. This last review refers back to the same Punisher Trump hat. It's a bit of a sarcastic.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Better than tinfoil" is the subject line. "My old tinfoil hat was in tatters, so I need a new one to ward off the 5G signals. I thought this hat would fit the bill. Not only is it supposed to protect for 5G, but also from chemtrails and COVID-19. Sadly, it did not work. As with anything Q related, it has no warmth. Also, I could not find one small enough to fit my pea-sized head."
Wow, what a rip. Whoa. I'm blown up. I think that one needs a moment of silence. That one was January 12th, 2021. That guy was getting his last stab in during the Trump administration.
There were so many items that I searched for on Amazon that I thought would be fruitful, but were so lame. And it was like those really dumb t-shirts you see sold at stores that are like sarcastic comment loading right now, coming in blank, what was the one I told you about? Like, cool story,
this
bro.
A lot of questions.
Make me sandwich.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hit us. Critic is speaking. Uh-oh, we might have a delay going here. Tasha, can you hear us?
You're glitching pretty hard for me. There's like an interesting lag where sometimes I can see you talking and then the audio catches up like 10 seconds later.
That's backwards, but how do we sound now? We sound good?
Yep.
Have we caught up? All right.
Yeah, so it seems to happen whenever you're like loading or changing stuff on the Amazon.
All right, I'll keep my hands off like this. But you said it brings up an interesting question.
It brings up a bunch of interesting questions, but the big one is, sadly, it did not work. It's supposed to protect 5G and chemtrails. It's supposed to protect the user, presumably, from 5G, chemtrails, and COVID-19, but it didn't work. Did it not work in all those cases? Did it not work in some of those cases?
Mhm.
Like, did the 5G get him, but he's still like COVID-19 free? Or what happens when the chemtrails hit you because you're not wearing a good tinfoil hat? Like, what's the story?
Yeah. So you're taking this as if do you think it's a serious review? Is this someone who bought it and is angry?
Oh, no.
Oh, but
No,
so
but I am asking, sort of like within the fiction being crafted here,
right.
is this
right.
person like now in a pit somewhere hiding from the 5G chemtrails and COVID? Or like, did they all get him at once? Like, what's the story?
At what point did they realize it was not working? Like, did they start feeling the effects of 5G? Yeah. And they got under their school desk or whatever.
I also like that, as with anything Q related, it has no warmth. Like anything that has Q on it, it just serves something about it serves no purpose for warmth.
Yeah. Like the first paragraph is just purely fun. And the next one is taking direct shots. Like he gets angry at it. I'm surprised no one found this helpful. And I'm also curious, did he have to buy this product to rate it?
No, it doesn't say verified.
Oh, that's when you know. I wish it had. That would have been a funny story to spin on this. All right, second to last one here. What is this one, E?
I already said this one, but this was the same hat. This is a great hat. Trump is a great president. 11 people found this out.
See, this is what I'm talking about. People are using the ratings to like push their platform. This guy is clearly Donald Trump in here using this review to promote himself.
This is before the election too. This is 2019.
This is Cheek. Can you give it? Cheek, are you still there? Cheek, what? What? Can you give this as a Trump voice so we can see who clearly read this one?
Oh yes, let's hit it.
Yeah.
Oh God, the face.
This is a great hat. And I, President Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, is a great president. Thank you. The election was rigged. We all know that. I love you, Melania. Please don't divorce me. Bye.
And fade off the screen
I
too.
learned something today about like Trump doing Trump voice. Apparently it requires you to do Trump mouth and Trump gestures. Like that was phenomenal.
He's
and a
pretty
little bit
spot
frightening.
on.
He nails it. I think he gets better every time, but I really do think that a part of doing Trump voice and hands is
Mouth.
or doing the impression is the mouth and the hands. I don't know
Those
if I
puckered up.
Character.
could you do it straight up? Could you do a Trump impersonation just like expressionless M. Night Shyamalan?
I need the mouth at least. I need the Alec Baldwin lips. That's what really allows me to win all the time. I know
Just
that Barack and Sleepy Joe, they don't know much about winning. I gave this one to Joe because I felt so bad. He loses all the time, really. Really. And so I decided I needed a little break. I want to go shoot some golf down in Florida. And I'll let Sleepy Joe run things for a while. But my lips, it's all about the lips.
It's like watching a human goldfish hybrid, like trying to breathe in air. It's wild.
Are you talking about Cheek? Or
Let's just say he's capturing a familiar look.
Yeah, Cheek. I don't know where
It's
I
the
know
only
that guy
thing I'm
from,
talented at.
Yeah.
Goldfish lips.
Yeah. All right. That's going to be a good edit for us. A good goldfish Trump edit.
Here is our last review. This is a yodeling pickle, a very unique item on Amazon. a plastic pickle. You press a button and it has a yodel. There are plenty of videos of it doing what it's supposed to be doing. Very accurate descriptions. This person gave a 1-star review. This is the most annoying thing I have ever heard. Do not buy.
And buy spelled incorrectly.
Yeah, buy spelled like bye.
Yeah, it spelled like
Bye.
goodbye, which just leaves the feeling of her saying, "This is the most annoying thing. This is the most annoying thing I've ever heard. Do not bye."
Bye.
Do not.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
your
how I
punctuation
interpreted
was
it
just
too.
Sarah.
So,
Do not. Bye.
bye. I feel like
Given that there are videos of it doing what it does, and yet she clearly did not watch the videos, or she would know that it was an annoying yodel. Given the fact that this like little micro listing points out that it's size, it says size 8 inches. I'm wondering what she was buying an 8-inch pickle for without realizing that it yodeled.
whoa. I'll give you a hint.
she thought it vibrated as it yodeled, and she just didn't realize how annoying the yodeling was going to be.
Maybe English isn't her first
How-
language, and she thought yodel was another word for vibrate.
We really need a picture of this 8-inch vibrating yodeling pickle.
Does it have arms? Is it like a doll?
No, it literally just looks like a plastic pickle with a little speaker
It
in
doesn't
it.
have a face.
It's not
Nope.
Pickle Rick.
Nope.
Huh.
If you type in yodeling pickle, though, it has
Who
a
put this things
mascot.
together.
There's a mascot
Who's
with a
like-
little mustache.
I want to make a device that yodels. What should it look like? Could it look like a yodeler? Why don't no? That seems too
Or-
obvious.
Too
Maybe it
predictable.
could look like a mountain goat or something associated with yodeling. No, let's make it a
No,
pickle.
no,
Like,
no.
who said that? Where did that come from?
Yeah,
about-
not the
yeah,
mountain
a
goat. People have
vegetable-
seen Sound of Music already. I know what that is.
Oh my
There
god!
were a lot
Sound
of
Music fun
high
fact.
reviews.
What, Cheek?
It's not a fun fact. I had a descendant of Von Trapp in my brewery today.
Oh, wow. That's relevant.
Sebastian
Von
Von
Trapp?
Trapp told
It's
me
the Von Trapp
stories of
family.
his grandfather. All right, never
You not seen
mind.
it?
Apparently, it's not interesting.
Cheek,
No,
go
that's
ahead.
wild.
That is pretty crazy. Don't they live in Vermont though? The family does.
Yes, they settled in Stowe, like 30 miles from where I live. And so their descendants are all over the place. Sebastian came to the brewery, started yapping about his grandpa. I was like, I get it. I hate
Shut
Hitler
up, old
too.
man. No one
Yapping.
cares.
Oh wow.
You remind me of a yodeling pickle. Oh, I don't know. I'm worried for the people who found this helpful, because are they people who are also going to buy it? Because if this girl had to have seen what this thing is, it's well documented. So these people who have now seen what it is, well documented, and seen this review, are they going to buy it too? Is it a cascading effect of people who don't follow the advice of just general advertising?
I mean, there's plenty of people who know what they're buying and they're like, it's a yodeling pickle. I love it. It's simple. I need it. And then there's people who are like, I just wish it had like more variations of the yodeling. There's only one soundtrack that loops. And it's kind of like a monkey claw wish.
I like that phrase, monkey claw wish. Verified purchase, though.
I think
So
there
we
were
do.
just 3 people out there that were like trolling through the yodeling pickle reviews on Amazon thinking, I really want a yodeling pickle, but I don't want the one that's annoying. What if this thing is annoying? And then they saw this and were like, oh, it is annoying. Okay, that's useful to know.
Yeah. I want one that has harmonies and is melodic.
I want a comfort yodeling pickle.
Also,
is it
like
plush?
the person who uses this is going to use it for like fun pranks. Like it's a party toy. Like,
Yeah.
if you have people over, you're like, someone's like, what's this pickle? Is there a button that I press? And all that. But I feel like the people who are buying this and complaining about it are just like sitting on their couch with this, pressing it and waiting for something to just like something new to entertain them. You know, like it's like they expect this toy to just like please themselves for an hour.
Do you think the person that owns this also has one of those clocks on their wall with it's a cat with the eyes that go back and forth?
The tail wagging.
The tail wags beneath it. Because I've always wanted one of those, so maybe I'm in the market for a pickle.
I think the people that buy this have a shelf of different kinds of vegetables that yodel.
Ooh, they're
It's just
VeggieTales fans.
Should I buy the pickle to go with my yodeling eggplant
and my carrot,
yodeling kumquat, and my yodeling carrot, yodeling head of broccoli? But it turns out that all of them operate in harmony except the pickle. That's why the pickle's annoying.
Yeah, that one was. I guess they tuned that one to the wrong key. That would be my review. Tuned to the wrong key. Annoying.
Tasha, I love your unique perspective.
See, this is why you need critics.
I love this unique critic perspective of this, like, could be this other story. I'd love to have you on the podcast again.
What I really want to do is get a live stream. We keep talking about doing a live stream for the podcast as we grow our viewership. And I would love to have you on and kind of ding dong around. I don't know a better phrase for it.
Ding dong around.
and look, just find things to be critical of on the internet. But like you, but microscopically critical. Yeah.
Are you sure there are things on the internet to criticize, though? I mean, I think the internet is pretty much above reproach, right?
Yeah, it's the internet's flawless, but it's gonna take us. It's gonna take us to find the cracks.
Well, we could just call the stream "Nitpicking the Internet."
Nitpicking with I don't know. I'm not gonna
nitpicking with yodel and pickles.
We can rate everything on the internet by number of yodels.
Yeah,
and we each get a yodel and pickle. And
I give this one 6 yodeling
mark
pickles.
of approval is we each make our pickles yodel.
Yeah. Oh, we will need.
This one gets 4 yodels out of 4.
Yeah.
So now everybody watching the live stream has to listen to the pickles for like 5 minutes.
Yodel. That's all I give it. Just a yodel.
Yodel.
It's like a 1 star. Well, Tasha, thanks so much for coming on. We ended up talking for a good 2.5, maybe 2 hours. I can't tell. Yeah, 2.5 hours. But which is great. I think we'll end up producing this in a 2-part series. One on Monday and one on Wednesday. You can expect us to be annoying with tagging you in these posts if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This has been a fun conversation.
Yeah, we had a blast. And
I was not expecting to come out of it
go ahead.
knowing this much about yodeling pickles. I have to admit.
Well, that's so believe it or not,
I'm straight up going to go look up that listing.
Yeah. Believe it or not, this is not a unique experience. We talk about this with all of our friends. So which is why you don't see anyone else in this room, because we don't have any friends. But yeah, no, we've enjoyed this. We've talked about so many crazy things all over the place, and this is why we love having guests on, because we get to the yodeling pickles of the conversation and really get to find out about you guys more than we would have ever known via following you on Twitter. But that being said, anyone listening at this point, follow Tasha Robinson on Twitter, and it will be no surprise that her Twitter tag is at Tasha Robinson. Well,
thanks for having me on. This has been very entertaining. I've learned a lot.
Well, that's good to hear. That's what we like to hear. What's that, Cheek?
I think we gotta let the guests tag themselves. I think that's more appropriate.
You're right. I can't do a better job. So Tasha,
if they want you to follow you, she's allowed to say if she does or doesn't.
Oh,
I think you already covered it. I covered early on how I'm boring and my tag is the same every place else. So I think we're covered on that ground.
Cool. Last thing? What's the deal with the picture of the frog?
I wasn't going to put a picture of myself on Twitter because I'm so bored and so over like the era that I started criticism at the it was before the AV Club. I was back in college, but when I started at the AV Club, it was just like everything we ran, we would get all of these chodes coming into the comments, like talking about how the person we interviewed looked. And if it was a woman, it was expressly, do I want to bang this woman? So like we'd interview a director about this film that meant a lot to her, that she'd spent like 10 years trying to get the money together for, that told some like story that was really important to her. And then like the first 30 comments would be like, would I personally bang her? I don't think so. And there was just no way I was going to associate my face with my criticism, because like whether you personally wish to have sex with me should not really matter as far as whether you can take stuff that I say about movies seriously. So I always kind of kept my face away from like profiles. I didn't want people to have that kind of discussion. So I just like look for images that are interesting. And my Twitter image is like a teeny tiny frog crawling up the tines of a Venus flytrap. And if you've ever seen videos of Venus flytraps eating small frogs, like that frog is in serious ass danger of losing its life. And it's a very pretty little image, you know, the plant is green, the frog is green. But that frog is just like on the edge of its own death and doesn't know it. And to me, it's just like a very taut little image of how close we all are to death at every moment without necessarily ever thinking about it.
Wow. That is so much more of an incredible answer than I could have imagined from that. I thought you were going to be like, I couldn't find a good photo at the time, and I made it.
I just saw this goofy little frog. I put in there.
Oh man, that's awesome. I'm changing my LinkedIn photo to that. That is awesome. Oh. Thank you so much, Tasha. That's
fantastic.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, and that was a great way to end off the episode, and we had no idea that it would be. So we appreciate you being here, and I'm gonna finish off this recording here and pause mine, and thank you very much.